Yeah. So in the yesterday's requirement, we need to insert employee data and we need to insert address data. Employee data and address data. Employee data should be inserted into employee table. Address data should be inserted into address table. City, state, and country. Now, first we need to create two tables. One is employee, another one is address. So can you tell me the query to create table? Create table employee. Create table employee. Now this table will have ID, name, and salary. So let me take it as employee ID, which is a integer, employee name, which is varchar, and employee salary will be available. That is also a int type. So right now you can take this employee table. What about address table? What about address table? Come on, create a table emp address. What columns we need in the address table? City, integer. City is a varchar. City varchar, that is 50. Next one, state varchar, that is also a 50. Then country, that is also a varchar, that is also 50. Now only these columns are sufficient, these columns are not sufficient. It is used to insert employee data, it is used to insert address data. Now once I insert the employee data and address data, how you will identify which address belongs to which employee? Right, I will insert 5 employee records. Employee will have a ID, employee will have a name, employee will have a salary, and I will insert 5 employees. 5 records will be inserted into employee table, 5 records will be inserted into address table. After 1 week, how you will understand which address belongs to which employee? Come on. So now assume that I'm going to create one table. In this table I will insert 10 records. Employee ID, name, and salary will be available. Here I am going to create another address table. In the address table, city will be available, state will be available, country will be available. Okay, 10 employees are inserted. Employees data available in the employee table, address data is available in the address table. After 1 week, if I see the address table, one address is Hyderabad, one address is Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Delhi, US. Which address belongs to which employee? Can you identify that? Is it easy? No. So if you create the tables like this, is it sufficient or it is not sufficient? It is not sufficient. Along with these columns, in the employee address table, we need to maintain employee ID also. Right? We need to maintain employee ID also. Why we need to maintain employee ID in the employee address table? Join. That's if you see address table, now you can understand which address belongs to which employee. By using this employee ID, we can understand which address belongs to which employee. Are you clear? How many of you created tables like this? No? That's where you need to apply your logic, right? So you created the tables with only the logic which I have given, but you need to think, after inserting 20 records in the table, how we will differentiate which address belongs to which employee? Did anybody get that question? No? Did anybody get that question? Did anybody created address table with employee ID? No. You just taken city, state, country, you inserted the data. Now I will ask you, can you retrieve employee whose ID is 103, employee details and address details also? How can you get that? Suppose if you don't have this column, can you retrieve employee whose ID is 103? I want employee data and I want employee address also. Can you get the address of the employee? Why you cannot get the address of the employee? We don't know which address belongs to which employee. So we need to maintain some relation. We need to maintain some relation between employee table and employee address table. Got it? Now, for developing this requirement, how we need to maintain our tables? How we need to maintain our tables? Employee table should have employee ID and employee name and employee salary, like this. ID, name and salary. This is available in EMP table, employee table, right? Analysis is very important, guys. ID, name and salary. Next one. If it comes to employee address table, employee address table, right? So here you have taken the columns city, state and country. City, state and country, we have taken these columns here. Perfect. City, state, country. Okay. Fine. Now assume that I'm inserting one employee here, 101, name is some John and salary some value. Okay. Similarly, 102, some Steve and salary is some 2000. Okay. Now 103, some Charles, his salary I'm inserting as 3000. So 3 employee records are inserted into our table. 3 employee records inserted into table. Now coming to here, city HYD Telangana, country is India. Similarly, Chennai, let's take it as Pune, Maharashtra, India. Right. Next one. Delhi, right? State Delhi, then India. Now with this, whatever the code you have done, with your coding, records will be inserted into table like this. Now, if you look at this, HYD one record is available, Pune one record available, Delhi one record is available. But which employee belongs to Hyderabad? Whose address is Hyderabad, guys? Do you know that? No. Why? Why? Why you don't know which employee belongs to Hyderabad? No connection between the data. So is this the right way to insert the records into the table? Is this not the right way to insert the records into the table? Is this the right way to insert or it is not the right way to insert? Not the right way. Why it is not the right way? I gave you the requirement is simple. Read employee and address data from keyboard and insert into database table. Employee data, ID, name and salary. Address data, city, state, country. I did not give employee ID. If I give employee ID, your ideas will not come. So I gave the requirement incomplete. I gave the requirement incomplete. So I expected that people will ask the question, sir, how we will identify which address belongs to which employee? Nobody asked that question. I expected that question from you people, but nobody raised that question. In the WhatsApp group also I have checked before coming to the class. No question is there regarding that. Blindly, whatever I have given, you are writing that. That's it. You are not thinking. You are not coming out of the box. You are well in the frog. What is the meaning of well in the frog? Always jumps there only. Whatever is there in the class notes, you are practicing, that's it. But you need to think out of the box, guys. You need to, whenever I give you a requirement, you need to take a pen and paper and you need to design that. Okay, I need to insert the data in the employee table. Employee table should look like this. I need to insert the data in the address table. Address data should look like this. Employee table should look like this. Address table should look like this. Okay, if I insert the 3 records into employee table, 3 records into address table, how can I identify which address belongs to which employee? If you write this on the paper, if you apply your brain, then you will get that doubt. Right? Okay, sir given task. Employee data should go to employee table. Address data should go to address table. Okay, I will imagine my employee table look like this. My address table look like this. I will insert 3 records into employee table. I will record 3 records into address table. Then if you draw the diagram, then you will get the doubt. Okay, 3 employees are there, 3 addresses are there. Which employee belongs to which address? This address belongs to which employee? What is the address of Steve? What is the address of Charles? What is the address of Smith? That there is no relation between these 2 tables. This is not the correct way. This is not the correct way. So tomorrow, when we are developing a project, we are going to get the screens like this. We are going to get the screen like this. In single screen, you need to give employee data as well as address data. But we are not going to store everything in the single table. Employee data will be there in one table, address data will be there in the another table. One employee can have multiple addresses. Can one employee have multiple addresses? Present address, permanent address. Now, if you take me, I'm staying in Hyderabad. This is my present address. And my permanent address is my hometown. My native place is different. Where I am staying is different. I have 2 addresses now. Right? I have institute address, I have my house address, I have my permanent address. Total 3 addresses are there. So for one employee, 3 addresses are available. Tomorrow, how can I identify what is the present address of me? Or what is the present address of the John? What is the permanent address of the Smith? What is the permanent address of the Smith? Like this, you need to establish relation between employee table and address table. Are you able to follow me? Now, in order to do that established relation, I am going to maintain employee ID here. I'm going to maintain employee ID. I will write 101 here, and I will write 102, and I will write 103. What is the advantage of doing like this? If I do like this, what is the benefit we are going to get, guys? Now, can you tell me which address belongs to which employee? Yes, can you tell me which address belongs to which employee? Now we are able to tell which address belongs to which employee. Getting my point, guys? Yes, note down. Take this screen. Take the screen first. As so many people asked that, sir, in the IT, recession is there. Are we going to get the job or not? In the last 5 days, I got 5 messages from students. Sir, I got selected in the company. There is no recession. Calls are there. So Java people are getting daily 30 to 40 interview calls. The people who knows Spring Boot microservices, they are getting 30 to 40 interview calls per day. Market is open. Market is open. There are so many openings are there. This is the right time to get the job. Before Pongal or before New Year, December period, in the month of December, calls are less. But now, so many calls are there. So many openings are there. As early as possible, we need to attend the interviews. For freshers, yes, for freshers also. Without Spring Boot, yes, definitely you will not get the interview call without Spring Boot. Spring Boot is mandatory. Have you taken the diagram? Yeah, note down, note a point. One employee can have multiple addresses. One employee can have multiple addresses like permanent address, present address, and office address, etc. One employee can have multiple addresses. One employee can have multiple addresses, present address, permanent address, and office address, etc. So it is not recommended to store. It is not recommended to store all the data in the single table. It is not recommended to store all the data in the single table. It is not recommended to store all the data in the single table. One employee can have multiple addresses like permanent address, present address, and office address, etc. So it is not recommended to store all the data in the single table. So to fulfill above requirement, to fulfill above requirement, we need to create two tables like below. To fulfill above requirement, we need to create two tables like below. To fulfill above requirement, we need to create two tables like below. Take the table structure. Understand? Yes. Note. Address table should contain the reference of employee ID. Address table should contain the reference of employee ID. Address table should contain the reference of employee ID. Address table should have the reference of employee ID to identify which address belongs to which employee. Address table should contain the reference of employee ID to identify which address belongs to which employee. This is used to as employee ID. Next point. Employee ID column in the address table. Employee ID column in the address table. Employee ID column in the address table will represent the relation between employee table and address table. Will represent the relation between employee table and address table. Will represent the relation between employee table and address table. If I don't have this employee ID here, guys, if I don't have this employee ID here, what is the problem? What is the problem? We don't know which address belongs to which employee. Are you clear? Right. Fine. If we understand, guys, in the project development, if you can design database tables correctly, then our coding will become easy. Got my point? Suppose if you don't have this employee ID column here, now you got a requirement, retrieve employee record based on the ID. You retrieve employee record based on the employee ID. I want employee data and I want address data of the employee. Can you develop that requirement with this structure? That is impossible. Impossible, right? If you don't have employee ID in the address table, can you identify which address belongs to which employee? No. Always we need to maintain relationships in the database. In your SQL queries, they might have explained you joins. Did you attend SQL? Some people attended, some people not attended, right? So in the SQL, they will explain a concept called joins. What is the meaning of joins? To join one table with the another table. Inner join, outer join, left outer join, right outer join, self joins. Like that, there are several types of joins available in the SQL. Now, two tables should have relation, then only we can identify correct data. Okay, if employee ID not available in the address table, then we cannot develop that requirement. Are you clear with my point? Yes. So anybody having any doubts on the table design for this requirement? Employee data and address data. You need to imagine everything with the real life. Okay, we are staying in Hyderabad. You have one hostel address and you have one permanent address. Your house address is different, your present address is different. One employee can have multiple addresses. Tomorrow, if you join in the company for a job, you will have office address, you will have hostel address, you will have your house address also. One employee can have 3 addresses. So how to store employee data and address data? For 3 addresses, can you insert 3 records for the employee in the employee table? No. If you want to maintain 3 addresses, can you insert 101 John with the present address, 101 John with the permanent address, 101 John with the office address? Is that recommended? Not recommended. So always we need to go for normalization. We should not store all the data in the single table. we need to divide the data into multiple tables with some relationship. Employee data will be stored into employee table. Address data will be stored into address table. When the employee data and address data is storing into two different tables, there should be some relation. So this employee address is what? That address is belongs to which employee? I want to identify address of Charles. Now, by looking at the address table, can you tell address of Charles? Yes, Delhi, because employee ID 103. In this address table, employee ID 103. So Charles belongs to Delhi. Okay. What is the address of Steve? What is the Steve ID? 102. When you go for this address table, 102, Pune. Pune is the address of the Steve. John address. Like this, there is some relation between our data. So always relationships in the tables are very, very important. If you have the relations, then only we can organize the data properly. All right, we need to write a program to insert data like this. We need to write a program to insert the data like this. So can we develop that program? Come on, guys. Employee address example. I'm not going to read from keyboard. You already know how to read the data from the keyboard. Yes, I will directly hard code that value. New class employee address insert. Employee address insert. Okay, take these values. Then we are going for a main method. We are going for main method. Next, we need to get the connection. Driver manager dot get connection. Yes, it is giving an exception, throws that exception. Then I need to prepare the queries, guys. Private, static, final, string, employee insert. So what I need to do? Insert into EMP values, 3 values, name, ID name and salary. Okay, this is for employee insert. Next one, employee address insert. Employee address insert. Insert into address values. How many values? City, state, country and employee ID. City, state, country and employee ID. 4 values I need. In the employee table, I'm taking 3 columns. In the address table, I'm taking 4 columns. Okay, connection is ready. Next one. After getting the connection, what is the next step? We need to execute the query. To execute a query, we need a statement. In this scenario, statement is recommended. Prepared statement is recommended. Prepared statement is recommended. Why prepared statement? Query with the dynamic values. Same query we can execute multiple times to insert multiple records. So when to go for statement, when to go for prepared statement? If you want to execute a static query, then only go for statement. If you want to execute a query with the dynamic values, then go for prepared statement. Come on, how to get the prepared statement? Con dot prepare statement, con dot prepare statement. What is the first one? EMP insert. Okay, it is giving me prepared statement object. It is giving me prepared statement object. Now, prepared statement object is created. My query is having positional parameters. Do you know how to set the values for positional parameters? How to set the values for positional parameters? PSTMT dot set int 1 comma ID, employee ID 101. PSTMT dot set string, some name, second index, some name I'm setting. Next one, PSTMT dot set a double salary. Okay, third index, I'm setting some salary 1000. That's it. Okay, so this is PSTMT I have created. Now, can I add this PSTMT to add batch? Can I add to the batch? Why I am adding to the batch now? Because I want to execute two queries. One query should insert the data into employee table. Another query should insert the data into address table. Instead of executing two queries separately, can I execute two queries at a time? Yes, by using batch. Okay, so my first prepared statement is ready. I have added that prepared statement to the batch object. Next one. What is the next step? This will added one query to the prepared statement. What is the next step? Con dot prepare statement of what I need to do? Address, employee address, insert. Employee address, insert. What it is going to give me? It is going to give me PST empty. Okay. Now here it will give me PST empty. So this is PST empty object. For that PST empty, I have added one query. For that query, I'm setting the values also. That query I have added to batch object. Now, next one, what I am trying to do? I'm trying to execute prepare statement. I'm trying to execute prepare statement. Then PST empty dot set int of city. Set a string of 1 comma city, something like the HYD. PST empty dot set a string, then state Telangana. PST empty dot set a string of 3. This is country, India. Okay, fine. Next one. Fourth index is there na? Fourth index. What is the fourth index now? Employee ID. So what we need to do? What we need to do now? PST empty dot set int of 4 comma. What is the ID we are inserting? 101. So whenever I'm inserting that record in the address table also, I'm setting the ID as a 101. PST empty dot set int of 101. What next I can do? PST empty dot add batch. PST empty dot add batch. Okay. Finally, what is the last step? PST empty dot execute our batch. PST empty dot execute our batch. Once it is completed, then finally we are going to do con dot close. We are going to do con dot close. Fine. See the program. Database URL, username and password. Employee insert. Insert query. Address insert. Address query. I'm getting the database connection. By using the connection, I created my prepared statement. For the prepared statement, I am setting the values. If you want to add this query to the batch, you can add to the batch. If I don't want to add to the batch, then what I can do? If I don't want to add to the batch, what I can do? I can go for directly execute update. When I go for execute update, what will happen? This query will be executed. Now I'm creating one more prepare statement object with the address query. So for the address query, there are 4 positional parameters available. What is the purpose of positional parameters? To provide the values dynamically. When our query is having positional parameters, we need to set the value for the positional parameters. I'm executing that first query and I'm executing my second query. So with this, I'm going to insert 2 records into 2 tables. Finally, I am closing my connection. Now, records inserted. Records inserted. 2 records are inserting. 1 record into employee table, another record into address table. Let me go to my database. I think tables are not available. We need to create the tables first in the database. Let me go to workbench. MySQL workbench. I'm opening my workbench. It is a client to communicate with the database server. Perfect. Yeah. First, I need to use my database. Use advanced Java database. Okay, done. Select the star from books. Yes. This is books table. How to see all the tables available? Show tables. Run this. books table is available, employee table is available. Okay, drop employee. Drop table employee. Okay, then show tables. So how many tables are available now? There is only one table available, which is a books table. Now I need to create a table EMP and create a table EMP address. Okay, let me take the first query. Sorry, comma. We will give that later. Employee table got created. Next one. I'm trying to take address. Okay, two tables got created. Commit. Show tables. Now, can you see EMP table and EMP address table? Select star from EMP. Select star from EMP. See this? Employee ID, name, salary, no records are available. Now, let me go to EMP underscore address. EMP underscore address. City, state, country. Where is employee ID? I have removed from here. Employee ID, which is a integer. I'm dropping this table. Now I will recreate, or else you can alter the table and you can add that column. Okay, done. Select star from EMP underscore address. Correct. So we have employee table, select star from EMP, and we have employee address table. There are no records available in both tables. Now I'm going to run my application. So here, first prepared statement to insert the record into employee table. Here, second prepared statement to insert the record into address table. When I am inserting the record into address table, I'm inserting the employee ID also. What is the purpose of inserting employee ID in the address table? To establish the relation between two tables. Okay, good. Let's try to run our application. Right click, run as Java application. Right click, run as Java application. Failed. Now there is a problem. My program is executed successfully, or it is not executed successfully? Not executed successfully. How many queries I tried to execute? 2 queries. Now see here. Select a star from EMP. What happened? 1 query is executed successfully. What happened here? Second query not executed successfully. Is there any problem in this scenario? What is the problem in this scenario? If I run this program again, what will happen? Same duplicate record will be inserted into employee table. So is this recommended way to write our program, or this is not the recommended way to write our program? This is not the recommended way to write the program. Why? I am trying to execute 2 queries in my project. One query is used to insert the data into employee table. Another query is used to insert the data into address table. My first query is executed, but my second query is not executed. My first query is executed, but my second query not executed. Let's take a simple scenario. I am transferring amount from my Google Pay to your Google Pay. Okay, guys, I'm transferring the balance. I'm transferring some money from my Google Pay to your Google Pay. When I do the transfer, amount deducted from my account, that query executed, but amount not added to your account. Then what we need to do? Roll down on the floor and cry. I have transferred money deducted from my account, but money is not added to your account. So this is a transaction related issue. Getting my point? This is a transaction related issue. So JDBC is not good with respect to transactions. So JDBC is not good with respect to transactions. In my program, I'm executing two queries. Either two queries should be successful or none of the queries should be successful. Whenever I am transferring the money from my account to your account, if money is debited from my account, money should be credited to your account. Then we are happy. That is a successful transaction. But what happened is, from my account, money is debited, money is deducted from my account, but money is not added to your account. So that is a successful transaction or it is a failure transaction? It is a failure transaction. In our scenario also, it is a successful execution or failure execution. It is a failure execution. One record, one table query executed successfully, another table query not executed successfully. So here, this is not the right way to develop the program. This is not the right way to develop the program. Sir, here, whenever we are performing operations with the database, when we are performing operations with the database, transactions are very, very important. Transactions are very, very important. In the BTech or degree, did you hear about acid properties? Atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. What is atomicity? What is atomicity? You don't know? What is, can you check in the Google or ChatGPT? What is atomicity? Check it and let me know. Atomicity. If you know atomicity, then only I can explain you this program. Check in the Google, no problem. What is atomicity? That concept is required for today's example. What is atomicity? Either all or none. Either all or none. What is the meaning of either all or none? What is the meaning of either all or none? When my program is executing, two queries are executing, right? When my program is running, it is trying to execute two queries. It should execute two queries successfully. Then it is fine. If any one query is failed, it should not execute anything. Okay. Either all queries should be executed successfully or none of the queries should be executed successfully. That is the meaning of atomicity. But in our program, atomicity is available or atomicity not available? Atomicity available or not available? How can you say atomicity not available? Employee record is inserted, address record is not inserted. If address record is not inserted, employee record also should not insert. That is called atomicity. Either all queries should execute successfully or none of the queries should be executed successfully. But in our scenario, first query executed successfully, but the second query execution is failed. But what we need to do is, If second query is failed, first query also should not insert the data. Either all queries should execute successfully or none of the queries should be executed successfully. Then only it is called as atomicity. Do we have that atomicity in our program? No. How to achieve that atomicity? That is our today's topic. You got my point? How to achieve that atomicity? Here, the problem is our JDBC connection. Our JDBC connection is having a problem. Whenever we are inserting a record or updating a record or deleting a record, transaction is required. We need to commit the transaction or we need to roll back the transaction. If all your queries are executed successfully, then only we need to commit the transaction. If any one query execution is failed, then we need to roll back the transaction. What is the transaction? What is a transaction? Single unit amount of work is called as one transaction. Inserting the employee record, address record is called one transaction. In single shot, employee record should be inserted, address record also should be inserted. If any one record is failed, other record also should fail. That is called atomicity. Either all or none. Both records should be inserted or no record should be inserted. I need to achieve that atomicity. But in the JDBC, the problem is whenever we execute any non-select query, by default, transaction will be committed. Whenever you execute any non-select query, by default, our transaction will be committed. So do we need to commit the transaction for every query or we need to commit the transaction after all the queries are executed? We need to commit the transaction for every query or we need to commit the transaction after all the queries? We need to commit the transaction after all the queries are executed. Suppose if this query is a success, but this query is failed, then it is not executed successfully, then what should we do? Roll back the transaction. We need to achieve atomicity. The problem with the JDBC is by default, whenever we execute a non-select query, transaction will be committed. Now I need to tell to my JDBC, hey JDBC, employee record, address records are inserting in the single transaction. They should be inserted in the single transaction. If the employee record is inserted, address record also should insert. If the address record is failed to insert, employee record should not insert. I need to inform that to the JDBC. If I don't inform that to the JDBC, what JDBC is thinking? This is one independent record. This is one independent record. JDBC don't know these two records are dependent. But as a programmer, we know that these two records are dependent. What JDBC thinking? JDBC thinking employee record is one and address record is another. Both are independent. That's why whenever we call execute update, employee record is inserted, transaction committed. That record inserted permanently in the database. Then it is trying to execute the second record. It is failed. JDBC thinking, okay, programmer asked me to insert two records. I inserted one record. Second record is failed. That is programmer mistake. It is not my mistake. Got my point? But we know that these two are not independent. These two are dependent. If employee record is inserted, then address also should insert. If address is not inserted, employee also should not insert. That is called transaction management. Transaction means single unit amount of work. What is the meaning of transaction? Single unit amount of work. Whenever we are dealing with the database operations, we need to deal with the transactions. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. Atomicity means either all should be success or no one should be success. Either all or none. If I transfer money, if money is deducted from my account, money should come to your account. If money is not coming to your account, that money should come back to my account. Okay. Sometimes when you go to ATM, you will withdraw the amount. Receipt will come, but money will not come. Then within 24 hours, money will be added back to your account. Roll back. That means if money is debited from my account, that money should be added to your account. That is successful transaction. Money should be debit from my account. Money should be credited to your account. These two operations are dependent. If money is gone from my account, money should come to your account. Then only it is called as successful transaction. Money is gone from my account, but money is not added to your account. That is a failure transaction. When the transaction is failed, we need to roll back the transaction. So you can execute 10 queries in one transaction. All the 10 should be successful or nothing should be success. That is called transaction management. Are you clear with my point? Yes. Now here, how to do that transaction management? In the JDBC, by default, when we go for a connection, whenever we open a connection, by default, connection auto commit mode is true. Whenever we establish a connection with the database, by default, that connection will have auto commit to true. What is the meaning of auto commit to true? Whenever we execute any non-select query, transaction will be committed immediately. Initially, someone asked me in the class, sir, why are you not committing the transaction? We are not committing the transaction. The reason is in the JDBC, whenever we establish a connection, by default, that connection will commit the transaction. That is, auto commit mode is enabled in the JDBC. That is the reason when this first query is executed, that committed, that means employee record inserted permanently. Second query is failed, but there is no chance to roll back because already it is committed. Now what I will do is I will disable auto commit mode. I will do like this. If these two queries are executed, then only you commit it. Otherwise you roll back it. That is called transaction management. Can we try that now? Yes. See here, I'm going to truncate employee table also. Truncate EMP. I want to remove the record. Okay. Select star from employee. Is there any record available? No. Select star from employee address. Is there any record available? No. Now let me give wrong table name only. Okay. Let me give the wrong table name. Why I am giving the wrong table name? Why I am giving one table name as correct, another table name as incorrect? To check our transaction is working as expected or not. What is the default commit mode of the transaction? True. Now I don't want to commit the record for every record. I don't want to commit for every record. When I want to commit, what is the meaning of commit? Saving the data permanently. Commit means saving the data permanently. What is the meaning of rollback? Commit means saving the data permanently. Rollback means undo, remove that, right? Remove that. Control Z. What is Control Z? Undo, right? So when we are working with the databases, when we are working with the database operations, we need to tell to the JDBC when to commit the transaction, when to roll back the transaction. Here, what happened is when this query is executed, it committed. When this query is executed, it failed. Unnecessarily employee record is inserted. If address also inserted, then only save both records. If address record is not inserted, delete the employee record also. For that, I'm going to do like this. Con dot set auto commit as false. What is the meaning of con dot set auto commit as false? Hey JDBC, don't commit, don't save the data permanently. As of now, whenever we execute any query, database record is saving. The record is saving in the database by default. Why the record is saving by default in the database? Because of auto commit mode. For every JDBC connection, by default, auto commit is true. Whenever we execute any non-select query, by default, that record will be saved in the database permanently. It will commit the transaction. But now I don't want to commit the transaction for every record. If 2 records executed successfully, then only commit. If any one record is failed, then undo that record, roll back that record. Are you clear, guys? So in order to manage the transactions in the JDBC, first we need to set connection dot set auto commit as a false value. Connection dot set auto commit as a false value. Now here I'm going to specify con dot commit. What I'm telling? Con dot commit. Set auto commit to false. That means you insert this record, but don't save that. Don't insert that permanently. You just hold that record. Then execute this record also. If this record is also success, then only commit the transaction. Otherwise, roll back the transaction. In order to commit the transaction or roll back the transaction, I need to understand. If some exception occurred, then roll back. If there is no exception, then commit. How can we understand exception occurred or exception not occurred? How can we understand exception occurred or exception not occurred? Try catch. What we need to do? Try catch. So here I'm executing one query. Here I'm executing another query. There is a chance of getting exception here. There is a chance of getting exception here. Whatever the code is going to give you the exception, you keep that code in the try block and you write a catch block. Exception E. This is the syntax. Try block and catch block. So now cut this code, keep this code in the try block. Okay. I'm keeping this code inside the try block. So this is executed, this is executed. If 2 are executed successfully, then it is going to commit the transaction. Suppose if there is any problem in the try block, then it will come to catch block. What I will do in the catch block? Connection dot roll back. Inside the try block, I'm trying to commit the transaction. Inside the catch block, I'm trying to roll back the transaction. Now system.out.println transaction rolled back. Transaction rolled back. Commit means records are inserted. Okay. So thing is, try block I'm writing. Records insertion logic I'm keeping in the try block. If records are inserted successfully, if 2 records are inserted successfully, then only I am going to commit it. If any one record is failed, then it will go to catch block. Then in the catch block, what I am doing? Connection dot roll back. What is the difference between commit and roll back? Commit means save the data permanently. Roll back means undo the record. Are you clear? Now, so employee table address table name is incorrect. Now run this. Before going to run, check it. Select star from EMP and select star from EMP address. Do we have any data in 2 tables? 2 tables are empty. If program is a success, 2 records should insert into 2 tables. If there is any exception, 2 records should, any one record also should not insert. Run as Java application. Okay. It is trying. What happened? Transaction rolled back. Why it is rolled back? Here it is failed. Here it is failed. Then it came to catch block. What I have done in the catch block? Roll back. Now check the address table. Any record in the address table? No. Any record in the employee table? No. This is working as expected. Okay. Earlier, when I don't do the transaction management, what happened? Employee record is inserted, address record is failed. But my requirement is, if records are inserting, both should insert. If any one record is failed, no record should insert. That's what is called transaction management. By default, who is managing transactions in the JDBC? Connection object. Whenever we open a connection, by default that connection will have transaction as auto commit to true. So whenever you execute a non-select query, immediately it is committing the transaction. I don't want to do like that. I want to commit when I want. I want to roll back when something is wrong. But if I don't do like this, for every non-select operation, JDBC will commit the transaction. I don't want JDBC to commit. I will decide when to commit, when to roll back. So if you want to decide the commit and roll back, we need to set auto commit to false value. What is the default auto commit value? The default auto commit is true. Whenever we execute a non-select query, immediately it is going to commit that. But in the real time, we need to manage the transactions on our own. We should not depend on the JDBC transactions. We need to manage the transactions as per the project. Now, here I will write the logic to deduct the amount from my account. Here I will write the logic to add the balance to your account. If amount is debited from my account, it should be added to your account. If amount is not added to your account, I will do rollback. Amount will come back to my account. Are you guys clear with my point, guys? Yeah, next make a point. Transactions in JDBC. Transactions in JDBC. Single unit amount of work. Single unit amount of work is called as transaction. Single unit amount of work is called as transaction. We can execute multiple queries in single transaction. Single unit amount of work is called as transaction. Single unit amount of work is called as transaction. We can execute multiple queries in single transaction. Every transaction should follow. Every transaction should follow ACID properties. Every transaction should follow ACID properties. A means atomicity, C means consistency, I means isolation, D means durability. Every transaction should follow ACID properties. A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, D stands for durability. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Okay, guys, now note, when we are performing non-select operations with the database, then transaction is mandatory. When we are performing non-select operations means insert, update, delete. When we are performing non-select operations with the database, then transaction is mandatory. For select operations, transaction is optional. For select operations, transaction is optional. For non-select operations, transaction is mandatory. For non-select operations, transaction is mandatory. For select operations, transaction is optional. For non-select operations, transaction is mandatory. For select operations, transaction is optional. Got my point, guys? When we are performing multiple operations in single transaction, then either all operations should be success or none of the operations should be success. When we are performing multiple operations in the single transaction, then either all operations should be success or none of the operations should be success. Transaction commit, it is used to save the operations. It is used to save the operation permanently. It is used to save the operation permanently. Transaction commit, transaction rollback. To save the operation permanently, it is used to undo the operation. Save the operation permanently or undo the operation. Understood, guys? Now, in JDBC, transaction will be committed. In JDBC, transaction will be committed by default for every non-select query execution. For every non-select query execution. In JDBC, transaction will be committed by default for every non-select query execution. In JDBC, transaction will be committed by default for every non-select query execution. Because by default transaction auto commit is true. transaction auto commit is true. Con dot set auto commit, it is true. This is default behavior of connection object. In JDBC, transaction will be committed by default for every non-select query execution because by default transaction auto commit is true. Con dot set auto commit is true. This is the default behavior of our connection object. Default behavior of our connection object. If we want to manage the transactions in JDBC, if we want to manage transactions in JDBC, we need to set auto commit. We need to set auto commit as false. We need to set auto commit as false. Con dot set auto commit to false. If we want to manage transactions in JDBC, we need to set auto commit as false. The default behavior of auto commit is true. When auto commit is false, we need to commit the transaction. We need to commit the transaction programmatically to save our operation in database. By default, auto commit is true. Whenever we execute any non-select query, it will commit the transaction. Now I don't want to commit it for every query. I will commit, I will roll back, depends on the execution. So if you want to manage the transaction, you need to set the auto commit as false. You need to set the auto commit as false. When you set auto commit as false, you need to commit, you need to roll back, depends on the execution. Yeah. Code snippet. Transaction management code snippet. How to write the code for the transaction management, guys? Connection con is equal to driver manager dot. What we need to do? Get connection. What we are passing? URL, username, and password. Then what we need to do? Con dot set auto commit to false value. Con dot set auto commit to false value. Now we need to write the logic inside the try catch block. Whenever exception occurred, it will go to catch block. Whenever exception occurred in the try block, immediately it will go to catch block. Now here logic to execute queries. Okay. If the queries are executed successfully, then what I will do? Con dot commit. Con dot commit. If any problem occurs in the try block, immediately it will come to catch block. What we will do in the catch block? Con dot rollback. Con dot rollback. So like this, we need to write the logic when we are dealing with the transactions in our application. Take this example. Completed, guys. Do you need to take the program? I don't think required. I will give this code. Okay. Example. Transaction will be also called as a TX. Wherever you see TX, nothing but it is a transaction, right? I have given the program. It is used to insert first record and it is used to insert second record. If some problem occurred, it is going to roll back the transaction. Code I have given in the notes. So I want you to practice this. If you understand this snippet, then you can do it. Here you can insert one record into employee table, another record into address table. If both are inserted successfully, then it will commit the transaction. If any one record is failed, then it is going to roll back the transaction. Now, let me give correct table name and let me check it. Is it inserting or not? Okay. Now I am giving employee table, employee address table. Now queries will fail or queries will not fail. Will fail or will not fail? Will not fail. Why it will not fail? Correct. If the two queries are executed successfully, transaction will commit or transaction will not commit? Will commit. What is the meaning of commit? Save the data permanently in the database. Okay. Let's execute this. Run as Java application. Records inserted. Go to database. Select a star from employee. One record is inserted and select a star from employee address. Another record is also inserted. Now two records inserted successfully. Okay. Next one. I want to insert one more record, guys. So this is 102. Now I'm giving as Steve. I'm giving 2000 up to 3000. Address I'm giving as Pune, Maharashtra, India. Employee ID is 102. So this address belongs to 102 employee. Run as Java application. Run as Java application. Records inserted. Check this. Select a star from employee. So John is available, Steve is available. John ID is 101, Steve ID is 102. Go to address table, select this. So HYD, John address, Pune, Steve address. So 102 employee address is Pune. 101 employee address is HYD. So now with this, can we understand which address belongs to which employee and which employee belongs to which address? There is a relation between the tables. If that relation is not available, there is no use of that data. If the relation is not there, if employee ID column is not there in the address table, is there any use of that data? Is there any use of the data? This address belongs to which employee? We don't know. So that's why we need to maintain that relation. Are you clear? Right. Next, take a task. It is class work, not homework. Abhi karna padega. No. Just you can write the code. Right. Develop JDBC application. Develop JDBC application to read employee ID from the keyboard. Develop JDBC application to read employee ID from the keyboard. Develop JDBC application to read employee ID from the keyboard. Develop JDBC application to read employee ID from the keyboard and retrieve employee data along with address. And retrieve employee data along with address. Retrieve employee data along with address. Yeah, understand the requirement, right? So you need to develop the program by using scanner. You need to read the employee data. If I give ID as a 101, you need to retrieve John record along with address also. Try that. Write the Java program. Develop JDBC program to read employee ID from the keyboard, then retrieve employee record along with address, employee data along with address from database table. Okay. This is my requirement. Try.
query is connection called random get connection. Query is select star from employee E address E where E dot question bar equal to A dot question bar. All dot
Correct. 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 Which loop? It is not based on index. It is based on the items. For each loop, not based on index. It depends upon the collection elements. Whichever you give right side. Completed? No? Vijay, it is wrong, man. It will give only employee data, Vijay. I want employee data along with employee address data also. Got it? Guys, this Sunday we have class. Which time? 11 o'clock? Huh? Morning, Shekhar sir class what time? 10:30 it will start. Huh? It will end at 10:30. Huh? Sunday, it is completely exam. JDBC is almost done. Only one topic is pending, which is connection pooling. I will complete connection pooling by tomorrow. I want to conduct an exam on JDBC. JDBC includes SQL also. JDBC includes SQL also. Don't think that ChatGPT will help. I will take your mobiles, I will keep it here. Then if you want to practice on Sunday, Monday I will keep exam. Exam is depends on JDBC plus SQL queries also. For online people, how GPT will be restricted? If you copy, then that is your problem. Jammer. Okay, guys. Now, see here. First of all, how to write a query to retrieve the data. Employee table is available and address table is available. Based on the employee ID, we need to retrieve employee record along with address also. For that, the query should be like this. Select star from EMP E, comma, EMP address A. Okay, guys. See here. Select star from EMP E, comma, EMP address A. This E is a alias for the table. This E is a alias for the employee table. This A is the alias for the address table. Select star from employee E, comma, employee address A. Then what we need to do is where E dot employee ID is equals to A dot employee ID and E dot employee ID equal to given value. That is the query. Select star from employee E, comma, employee address A. So which record I need to retrieve? I will get the employee ID from the keyboard. Observe, guys. I will get employee ID from the keyboard. Select star from employee where employee table employee ID is equal to address table employee ID. That is the condition. Got my point? So select star from employee E, comma, employee address A, where E dot employee ID is equal to A dot employee ID and E dot employee ID is equal to given value. Suppose if I give as a 101, if I give as a 101. Now go to database, execute this query, run this query. Now what happened? I got single row with all the data, employee data as well as employee address data also we are getting. Are you clear, guys? Fine. So this query we need to execute by using our JDBC. So now let me write one program. Select employee with address. Select the employee with address. So queries, if you can write, then it will be easy. Yeah, this is our query. Right. E is the alias name for the employee table. A is the alias name for the address table. This condition is very, very important. If I don't pass this condition, no relation. We need to specify the relation. If employee ID of employee table is equals to employee ID of the address table, then only we need to retrieve based on the given employee ID. So how many positional parameters available now? One positional parameter is available. So to execute that positional parameter, we need to execute that query. We need to set the value for the positional parameter. Okay. Driver manager dot get connection. So I'm doing select operation or non-select operation. Select operation. So transaction is required. Transaction is not required. Transaction is required or not required. Transaction is not required. It is optional. Okay. Connection con is equal to get connection. Con dot create statement or prepare statement. Prepare statement. What is that? Employee select. Employee select. Select query I want to execute, which is giving me prepared statement. So what I will do? Prepare statement dot set int of 1,101. You can read that from the keyboard also. Okay, fine. By using scanner, you can read from the keyboard. Then what I need to do? PSTMT dot execute query or execute update. Execute query. Why execute query? It is a select query. So I'm getting what? Result set. I'm getting result set. So result set will have a row before the first record. While rs dot next, only one record will come anyhow. Rs dot next, system dot out dot println rs dot get int of 1, 2, 3. How many columns we are getting, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns we are getting. Okay, 7 columns. Rs dot get int of 1, get string of 2, get int of 1, string of 2, double of 3. Right, get int of 1, get string of 2, get double of 3 salary, get double of 3, then get a string of 4, 5, 6, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, that's it. Finally, I'm going to do con dot close. Okay, run this program, run as Java application. Yeah, 101 John 1000 Hyderabad, Telangana, India. So are we able to retrieve employee data along with address? Yes. So note down this query. It is a join query. You can, I mean, I can't write that logic in that. No? I just told you the approach. I will explain that. We need primary key also. that is the best way, writing the primary key and foreign key. Here, without foreign key, I just created the column. We will establish the relation with foreign key. Completed? Yeah. Take this. For morning core Java, which topic is running? Huh? Inheritance. Factory methods, static methods, instance methods. Okay, completed guys. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? No. So tomorrow we are going to start connection pooling. So before coming to tomorrow's session, please do some research on connection pooling. Theoretically, do some analysis on what is connection pooling that I'm going to explain in the tomorrow session. Note down research on connection pooling. Research on connection pooling. That is the task for tomorrow. Tomorrow we will discuss that connection pooling concept. Okay, and practice all the JDBC programs. Connection pooling is going to be our last topic in the JDBC, right? After connection pooling is completed, I am preparing 50 questions. Those questions, multiple choice questions will be available. Programming questions will be available. SQL queries also will be available. You need to write that exam. Once that exam is completed, then I will discuss what are the best practices we need to follow in the JDBC. We are just writing the code now, but this is not the industry standard. So in the industry, if a project is using JDBC, what are the best practices we need to follow? That we will discuss. After that, we will go for servlets, right? Good. Mostly another 2 to 3 weeks, we will complete our advanced Java. I'm not going to spend much time for JSP guys, because anyhow, we are going to learn the Angular for the front end development. JSP maximum 3 to 4, maximum 1 week only we are going to take for JSP. Servlets is important and JDBC almost we are done. Okay. Please practice all the examples and please go through SQL notes. So Sar has given day-wise notes, right? Please read all that. That will help you to write the exam which we are going to conduct. So many questions will come from the SQL classes. So many queries I am going to ask you to write it. In the interview also, they will ask you to write the query. How to find the second highest salary of employee, third highest salary of the employee, join queries, lot of queries I'm going to ask. You should be able to write those queries also. So you have time, another 2 to 3 days. Please read all the notes of that SQL. Okay? Fine. Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow also 4 o'clock class.